It seems to me that it is impossible to hide treason under any conditions and circumstances. Sooner or later, the truth will come out. I was not paranoid and did not try to incriminate my wife in something. But when the wife says at the moment of the conversation that she wants to spend the evening with her colleagues, most of whom are men, that's what starts to worry.
I found myself seated in the hospital waiting room, grappling with the decision of whether to stay or depart. A part of me yearned to escape, to vanish into the distance, leaving the deceitful woman to ponder my whereabouts. Yet, I knew I had to confront her for the final time. Allow me to provide some context. My name is Mike Gregory, employed as a CPA at the accounting firm of Thomas & McMaster. I've been married to Jenny for just shy of 5 years, but that was about to change. Following my high school graduation, I enlisted in the Marine Corps and served as a disbursing clerk, ensuring our Marines received their pay. While not a glamorous or thrilling role, I relished working with numbers. Liars can manipulate, but numbers don't deceive, and I appreciated that aspect of my job. Upon completing my Marine Corps service, I joined the reserves and pursued a bachelor's degree in accounting. Having initiated my education during my military service, it took me only 3 years to obtain my degree and fulfill the state requirements for a CPA license. I crossed paths with Jenny during my senior year of college. She aspired to become a paralegal with dreams of eventually becoming a lawyer. We met, dated, and married in September following our college graduation. I commenced my career at Thomas & McMaster while she joined the law firm of Johnson & Associates, specializing in family law. The initial 4 years were fantastic, or at least, that's what I believed. Jenny was aware of my monthly reserve drill commitments and the 2 weeks per year I spent away, and she seemed fine with it. Luckily, I never had to go overseas after joining the reserves, but the possibility was always there. During this period, our life together was amazing. We were deeply in love, engaging in passionate intimacy multiple times a week. We had a comfortable rented apartment and were contemplating the idea of purchasing a house and starting a family. However, things took a turn for the worse after our 4th wedding anniversary. Jenny started going out on Fridays after work, supposedly with her female friends to unwind. I didn't pay much attention to it initially and didn't complain, as I also occasionally went golfing with coworkers. Initially, she would return home by 7:30 or 8 p.m., and we would spend the rest of the evening together. But over time, she started coming home later and later. On one occasion, she didn't arrive until 7 a.m. the next day, claiming she spent the night at a friend's house to avoid driving home drunk. We confirmed her story by calling the friend, and we even went to the bar to retrieve her car. While the friend could have been covering for her, I had no concrete evidence. I was upset and told Jenny that if it happened again, she should call me and I would pick her up. Her response was dismissive, saying, "Yeah, whatever," with a casual wave of her hand. Then came the year-end holiday party at her workplace. I used to refer to it as Christmas, but her company opted for political correctness, renaming it a holiday party. Fine. Initially, Jenny attempted to dissuade me from attending, setting off warning signals. "I know you're not fond of being around my colleagues, so why not just stay home this year?" she suggested. "After all, you don't really want to be surrounded by a bunch of serious lawyers." "Maybe I just want to spend the evening with you," I replied. She sighed and shrugged. "Well, okay, if you insist," she said. "But I plan to socialize with my coworkers, and I can't have you clinging to me all night." "What? What do you mean by spending time with your colleagues?" I inquired. "Don't you see them every day at work and during your evenings out?" "Well, I might get asked to dance with some of them," she explained. "Okay," I said. "Is there space on your dance card for your husband?" She rolled her eyes and sighed again. "I suppose I can fit you in somewhere," she said. "Don't go out of your way," I remarked. We attended the party, and I scarcely saw her the entire evening. She introduced me to a few coworkers as her pencil-pushing ball and chain, and hurried off to dance with various men. Her colleagues looked at me with pity, and hardly anyone spoke to me. I never had the chance to dance with her, and I noticed she left the party multiple times, returning later with a guy grabbing her. If I didn't know any better, I could have sworn she had intimate relations with one or more of them. "All right, I'm ready to leave," she eventually said, slurring her words. Clearly intoxicated, her clothing and makeup appeared disheveled. I grunted and went to the car. She followed, attempting to kiss me inside, but I pushed her away, detecting something unpleasant about her breath. "What's wrong?" she inquired. "Your breath smells," I remarked. "What have you been drinking?" She giggled. "Curious, aren't you?" She teased. "I couldn't help but notice that you didn't bother to dance with your husband but spent the entire night with everyone else," I pointed out. "Yeah, so what?" she replied, getting annoyed. "I also observed that you were frequently absent," I mentioned. "Where did you go?" She laughed. "That's none of your business," she retorted. The rest of the journey home passed in silence. Naturally, there was no intimacy for us that night. Jenny tried to make amends for her behavior during the remainder of the holiday, but I sensed a shift in our relationship. After the holiday season, Jenny reverted to her unpleasant demeanor. Our sexual frequency declined from several times a week to maybe once a week. Her outings with the girls increased, and her attitude towards me worsened. A couple of weeks after the holiday party, I spoke with George Wilson, the accountant overseeing the annual review of Johnson and Associates. I discovered that everyone in the firm had received a substantial bonus and a significant salary increase. Jenny had received a 30% salary boost and a $10,000 bonus. However, none of that money appeared in our account. I wondered about her intentions. Instead of confronting her directly, I decided against it. Given her attitude, I suspected she would lie and turn my inquiry into an argument. So I approached George to look into the matter. He assured me he would, and requested a couple of days. 2 days later, things took a turn for the worse. George visited my office and shared some of his findings. According to the records from their firm, Jenny had her salary increase automatically deposited into an account at another bank. It became apparent that she was planning to leave me. Additionally, he mentioned some irregularities in the company's books that could pose problems. I noted the account details and thanked George for his investigation. That afternoon, I received a notification on my phone indicating that I had an email in my personal account. The subject line was unsettling. "What your wife is doing behind your back." Upon opening the email, I discovered a video attached that marked the demise of my marriage. As soon as I played the video, I immediately identified the individuals involved. One of them was Jenny, who appeared completely nude with her legs apart. Positioned between her legs was the same person I had observed grabbing her at the holiday party. However, this time, his actions extended beyond mere groping. The explicit content revealed him engaging in sexual activity with her. Witnessing my wife involved with another man was distressing enough, and far from being exciting, it only fueled a profound rage within me. Amid their explicit actions, hurtful words further intensified my emotional turmoil. "Oh yes, baby, fill me with your cum," she exclaimed. "Is this better than your ineffectual husband?" he taunted. "Way better," she replied. "He can't even perform." "Maybe I should impregnate you," he suggested, to which she responded with laughter. "Do it," she urged. "I'll make my clueless husband believe it's his. He won't suspect a thing." As the conversation continued, discussing her involvement with others at the company, the man concluded with a final grunt. Afterward, he withdrew, and a stream of semen escaped from her. To add insult to injury, she reached down, smeared the sperm on her wedding ring, and laughed. Unable to bear watching any further, I halted the video. Examining the email to identify the sender, I hoped against hope that it was merely a tasteless prank. In my reply, I questioned, "Who are you and when did this happen?" Within a few minutes, a response arrived. "I'm Tracy Williams, the wife of the person in the video, and I know your wife. This occurred yesterday. Would you like to meet? If so, call me at XXXXXX. Naturally, I was eager to meet. A myriad of questions flooded my mind, starting with the duration of this affair. The video shed light on many aspects of the unsettling events between us in recent months. I noted down her number and dialed. "Hello?" a woman's voice greeted. "Is this Mr. Gregory?" "Yes," I replied. "Call me Mike. Is this Tracy?" "It is," she confirmed. "I assume you've seen the video." "Some of it," I admitted. "I want to meet and understand what's happening." "Okay," she agreed. "Meet me at the Starbucks around the corner from your office. 20 minutes. "I'll be there," I assured her before ending the call. Closing my workstation, I informed my secretary of my temporary absence. It took me 10 minutes to reach the Starbucks, where I ordered coffee and waited. Shortly after, an attractive woman entered the shop. After exchanging greetings, we sat down, and I offered to buy her a cup of coffee. She handed me a manila envelope from her sizable handbag. "Everything you need to know is right here," she said. Peering inside, I discovered photographs, a private investigator's report, and a flash drive. The flash drive contains videos, more photos, and a digital copy of the report. "I apologize for you learning about their affair this way." "How long has this been happening?" I inquired, feeling my heart shatter. "At least 4 months, as far as I know," she disclosed. "Possibly longer. She's been involved with others at her workplace, too. That's in the report." "Just out of curiosity, why are you sharing all this with me?" I questioned. "Because I plan to name your wife in my divorce, and that impacts you," she explained. "Besides, I thought you should know in case you haven't figured it out. I've suspected something for a while, but lacked concrete proof," I admitted. "So, what's your plan moving forward?" "I've informed John previously that if I ever caught him cheating, I would file for divorce," she disclosed. "Similar to you, I had suspicions for a while, but lacked concrete evidence. Although I caught him once before and threatened divorce, he cautioned me that his firm would ruin me if I proceeded. You're familiar with their notorious reputation, right?" "I've heard Jenny mention how their firm often devastates spouses they oppose," I remarked. I was genuinely surprised by some of the things Jenny had shared about their firm, and even more astonished that, thus far, they had escaped consequences for their actions. "Winning is their mantra," she stated, "by any means necessary." "So, you're going through with it this time?" I inquired. She nodded. "Yes, now that I have indisputable proof of his infidelity," she confirmed. I nodded in response. "What do you need from me?" I asked. "Nothing," she replied. "I just wanted to do what's right." "Not even a hint of revenge?" I questioned. "Nope," she answered. "No offense, you seem like a great guy, but until this is resolved, I won't jeopardize it." I nodded, understanding her perspective. "No offense taken," I assured her. "I completely understand. In fact," she added, "I believe we shouldn't see or communicate with each other until it's all over." I gained newfound respect for her. "That makes sense," I agreed. "Thank you for sharing this information." She stood up to leave. "You're welcome, Mike. Again, I apologize," she said. Handing me a business card from her purse, she continued, "This is my attorney's name and number. She's a real shark and expects to hear from you." I thanked her and pondered the contents of the flash drive. Taking the afternoon off, I called the office and then went home. Upon arriving home, I accessed my personal computer and inserted the flash drive. It contained several videos, all depicting Jenny engaging in explicit acts with various men, including John Williams. Some videos even showed Jenny with John and at least one other man. A particular scene in a video left me feeling nauseated. The camera captured Jenny entering the bathroom without bothering to close the door for privacy, a departure from her usual behavior. As I observed, she removed her rings and urinated on them while seated on the toilet. In the background, I could hear John laughing uproariously. "Damn, you're quite a nasty person," he remarked. I hope you clean those things before putting them back on." Jenny laughed in response. "Yeah, I will," she replied, placing the soiled rings on the sink. "Besides, I only wear them when that loser is around." "Why not just divorce him if you have such a low opinion of him?" John questioned. She casually shrugged. "I still kinda like him. Plus, it's more enjoyable to do these things behind his back," she explained. "Maybe one day I'll invite you and the guys over, and we can make him watch us. Perhaps set him up like we do with some other guys we compete against and completely ruin him." "So, you want to turn him into a willing cuckold?" John asked. She grinned. "He won't like it initially," she admitted. "He'll probably resist for a while, but once he realizes the extent of the damage we can inflict on him and his reputation, he'll give in. Want to help me?" "If it means I get to be with you whenever I want, hell yeah," John eagerly agreed. She giggled like a mischievous child. "Good," she said. "I just know he's going to love taking your cum from my pussy." I couldn't believe that this was the woman I had fallen in love with. Unbeknownst to her, she had just declared war, and I vowed to give her a battle she wouldn't believe. After reading the private investigator's report, it revealed that Jenny and her lovers frequently met at the downtown Marriott Hotel at least once a week, spending a full weekend together every month. According to the report, John had spent an entire weekend with Jenny at my house last month. Looking at the schedule, I realized those were the weekends I was on my reserve drill. Checking my watch, I noticed there was still some time before she would arrive home. I retrieved the card Tracy had given me and dialed the number. "Law offices of Sally Hawkins," the receptionist greeted. I introduced myself and scheduled an appointment with Sally for the following morning. Following that, I accessed our joint bank account and navigated through the routine steps involved in preparing for a divorce. This included paying off and canceling our shared credit cards and subsequently opening a separate account solely in my name, transferring half of our funds into it. Heading to my secure gun safe, I retrieved my .45 caliber M1911A1 pistol, which was still holstered. I loaded a magazine and attached it to my belt. Adhering to our state's regulations, I ensured my pistol permit was up to date. Although I possessed a concealed carry permit, I rarely utilized it. However, after overhearing Jenny and her disrespectful lover, I wasn't willing to take any unnecessary risks. In what was once our bedroom, I collected a suitcase and an overnight bag. I haphazardly packed some of her clothes into the suitcase and her toiletries into the overnight bag. My indifference towards the packing process was evident. I left the packed luggage by the door. I was seated at my computer when Jenny arrived home. I activated the camera on my phone, which I always kept in my shirt pocket. The phone was tall enough for the camera lens to peek out over my shirt pocket. She appeared surprised to find me home before her. "Mike, why are you home so early?" she inquired, entering the bedroom that served as my office. "I had some things to take care of," I replied casually. Then she noticed the pistol on my hip. "Why are you wearing that?" she questioned. "Self-protection," I explained. "By the way, I have something to show you." "Oh," she responded. "What?" "Come in, you'll find this very interesting," I said. She entered and stood beside me, looking at the computer. I pulled up one of the video files and played it for her. Her eyes widened as she watched herself engaged with two men. "Well," she remarked, "I suppose you've caught me." "I guess so," I said. I was somewhat taken aback by her reaction. I had hoped for at least an apology or a hint of remorse, but there was none. If anything, she seemed more arrogant and condescending than usual. "Now that you know, there's no need for me to sneak around anymore," she declared. "So I'll be bringing John by the house from time to time, and yes, he'll be spending the night, in my bed, and yes, you'll watch, and if you're a good boy, I might let you suck his cum from my pussy. Too bad, really. I had hoped we could have kept this from you a bit longer, but I see no need to wait." "You're completely delusional," I exclaimed. It was the first time I had ever spoken to her with such intensity, and understandably, She was taken aback. In fact, collect your belongings and leave right now. What, are you planning to file for divorce? She inquired. Because if you do, it will be the biggest mistake of your life. Really? I responded. Why? Are you and your associates going to fabricate accusations against me just like you've done to others? You have no idea what we're capable of, she warned. By the time we're done with you, you might end up in jail, labeled as a wife beater and child molester. Your reserve's career will be ruined. We might even manipulate videos to make it seem like you're involved in creating child pornography. You'd be astonished at what we can achieve with video editing software. There it was. Go ahead, give it a shot. So that's your plan? I questioned. Force me into being your pawn by concocting false stories that you know are lies. Why not? She retorted. We do it all the time. I'll leave for now, but think about it carefully. I'll give you 48 hours to reconsider. Either comply or face public humiliation. Wait, I interjected, reaching for her hand. What? She demanded. I swiftly removed her rings and seized her keys from her purse. What are you doing? She asked as I extracted the house key, tossing her purse back to her. Get out, I commanded. I've already packed some of your things. Now leave. She glanced at the luggage by the door and then back at me. Come on, Mike, don't do this, she pleaded. Out, I insisted. She picked up the luggage and departed. I stopped the video on my phone, reviewing it to ensure I captured the entire confrontation. I had. Good. Tomorrow, I would ensure Sally saw this. I emailed the video to myself for safekeeping on my PC. Subsequently, it was sent to her parents, her sister, and my parents. I wanted them all to witness the person Jenny had become, and I refused to let her paint me as the villain in this situation. The remainder of the evening was spent consuming beer and watching television. Following a somewhat restless night, I contacted my workplace, requesting a couple of days off. I candidly explained the situation to my understanding boss, who empathized with me. Just take care of things and return as soon as possible, he advised. Thank you, boss, I responded, before concluding the call. After a refreshing shower, I got dressed and headed to meet Sally, ensuring I had all the necessary items. Sally's straightforward demeanor left an impression on me. After examining everything I provided, she expressed disbelief. Mike, this is incredible, she remarked. I've heard rumors about Johnson and Associates for years, but I never had any concrete evidence. If what she's saying is true, we could be looking at serious criminal charges. So, can we take action with this? I inquired. I'll initiate the divorce proceedings on grounds of adultery, aiming for a 70-30 split with no support. We'll give her the standard 30 days to respond and demand a complete financial report. Meanwhile, I'll explore obtaining a subpoena for her banking records. If she tries to conceal the account, we may consider perjury charges, she explained. Based on the video statement, I'll also pursue a restraining order covering you, your residence, and your workplace, she added. As for the rest, I'll contact the state bar and the local DA. This seems like extortion to me, and we'll see what unfolds from that. Meanwhile, you keep a low profile. Avoid confronting her or communicating with her and her associates. Stay away from her. Understand? I nodded in agreement. Got it, I affirmed. Good, she said. I'll initiate the paperwork and have her served at her workplace in the next day or two. Feel free to call me on my personal cell if needed, but don't misuse the privilege, she cautioned, handing me her card. Thank you, Sally, I expressed, shaking her hand. On that particular day, I received 3 phone calls. The first one was from my mother. Mike, I'm deeply sorry about everything. Are you okay? She inquired when I picked up. I'll be fine, Mom, thanks, I replied. I consulted with a lawyer today, and she's handling the situation. Keep us posted if there's anything you need, Mike, she said. We love you. I love you too, Mom, I expressed, The next call came from Jenny's parents, who seemed to struggle with basic English. "Mike, what is happening? What have you done?" her father questioned. "What have I done?" I asked, astonished. "Besides loving Jenny wholeheartedly? Nothing. Did you hear what she said?" "Yeah, I heard it," her father acknowledged. "But I can't believe she'd take such a drastic step without any reason. Can't you two work things out?" "No, Dad, we can't," I explained. "I've already consulted with a lawyer and I'm filing for divorce." "I'm sorry, son," he conceded. "This just doesn't add up to me." I couldn't agree more. Jenny's actions were inexplicable. "Just please, don't hurt my little girl." "I won't," I assured him before ending the call. Jenny's sister also called, and she was furious. "What's happening, Mike?" she demanded. "What did you do?" "I didn't do a thing," I asserted. "It's your sister who's acting irrationally, not me." "I can't believe it," she exclaimed. "My sister would never do something like this." "Believe what you want. I don't care," I responded. "I'm just informing you about why I'm seeking a divorce. Discuss it with her if you'd like." Frustration lingered as I concluded the call. I fired up my computer and brought up my email. In my inbox was a message with a subject that read, "I know what you've done." I looked at the sender and saw it came from Jenny's firm. The email looked like one of those fake messages that end up in the spam folder. "I know what you've been doing and have videos of you masturbating to pictures and video of little girls," the email said. "You have 24 hours to stop any divorce action, and the files we have will be deleted when you send us a cashier's check for 100,000 €. If you fail to do this, we will send the files to the authorities, your family, your superiors in the Marine Corps Reserve, and to your place of work. If you agree to this, reply with the word agree, and we will postpone any further action." The email had no signature. I looked at the header, but didn't see anything that provided any clues. Then again, that wasn't my specialty. I called Bill Frederick, the IT security guy at my company, and spoke with him. "Bill, I've got a favor I need to ask of you," I said. "Sure, Mike," he said. "What's up?" "Well, it's pretty private," I told him. "Can you keep this quiet?" "For you, absolutely," he said. "Okay, I just got an email that looks like it came from my wife's law firm, but I can't confirm it," I said. "Can you take a look at this and let me know what you think?" "Sure," he said. "Send it to me, and I'll take a look. I'll know in just a few minutes." "Thanks," I said. The call ended. I sent the email to Bill and waited for what seemed like forever. He called back about 30 minutes later. "What did you find?" I asked. "Well," he said, "it definitely came from Johnson & Associates network. They didn't even bother to mask it or run it through any proxies. Talk about arrogant." "You can verify that?" I asked. "Absolutely," he said. "I can even tell you who wrote the thing." "Would you testify to that in court?" I asked. "Sure, if it comes down to that," he said. "Thanks. I owe you big time," I said. "I'll let my attorney know. She may want to talk to you." "No problem," he said. "Give her my number." We ended the call, and I immediately called Sally. She answered on the second ring. "Sally Hawkins," she mentioned. "Sally, this is Mike Gregory. I just received an email that appears to be a form of blackmail," I informed her. "I had our IT security expert analyze it, and he confirms that it originated from Johnson & Associates network." "Really?" she inquired. "All right, I'm currently working on your petition and obtaining the restraining order. Forward that email to me, along with the contact information for your IT expert. We'll handle this. Don't respond or take any action." "Okay," I responded. "Thanks." After ending the call, I sent Sally the requested information and then opened a beer, contemplating what might unfold next. Later that evening, around 9:30, I received a call from Tracy. "Mike, are you watching the news?" she questioned. "No," I replied. "Why?" "Switch to Channel 7, right now," she urged. Channel 7 was a local news channel that I didn't usually watch, but I changed the channel as instructed. To reiterate, Eyewitness News is reporting that 4 individuals were killed and 4 others seriously injured tonight when a gunman entered the Lamplighter Bar and Grill and began shooting at a group of people with what police believe was an AR-15 style weapon equipped with a bump stock, the news announcer stated. As per eyewitness accounts, another bar patron armed with a pistol shot and killed the gunman. The motive for the shooting is currently unknown. The announcer continued. The scene shifted to a reporter interviewing a man identified as a witness. "It was chaotic," the man recounted. "This individual stormed into the bar, approached a table where a group was gathered, and began shouting about them destroying his life with their lies. His outburst included threats like, 'You people are going to pay. You ruined me with your lies.' Subsequently, he brandished a rifle and started firing. He managed to discharge numerous rounds before another individual shot him in the back with a pistol. Panic ensued and everyone scrambled to escape." The television returned to the news anchor. "The identities of the victims are being kept confidential until their next of kin are notified. However, authorities reveal that they all seem to be associated with the law firm of Johnson and Associates. The assailant has been identified as Roger Spencer, a man reportedly undergoing a bitter divorce where he faced accusations of child molestation. The origin of the weapon used in the attack remains unknown, prompting activists to renew calls for stricter gun control. Up next, on Eyewitness News, a heartwarming reunion between a man and his dog. "Wow," I said to Tracy. A knock interrupted us. "I have to go now, Tracy. Someone is at the door." "Same here," she replied. "Let me know if you find out anything." "I will," I assured her, ending the call. Stowing my phone away, I opened the door to find 2 police officers. "Mr. Gregory?" one of them inquired. "Yes," I affirmed. "Do you know a Jenny Gregory?" he questioned further. "Yes, she's my wife, at least for now," I disclosed. "I regret to inform you, sir, but your wife has been seriously injured in a mass shooting and has been taken to Mercy Hospital," the officer delivered the news. "How severe is her condition?" I asked. "I can't provide details, sir. I recommend speaking to the doctor when you arrive. Once again, my apologies, sir." They tipped their hats and departed. Damn, I wanted the conniving person out of my life, but I didn't wish her dead. I returned Tracy's call. She picked up after the second ring, her voice filled with tears. "Mike, it's Tracy," she sobbed. "They just told me Jeff, my husband, was shot and killed at the Lamplighter." "I'm so sorry, Tracy." I expressed my condolences. Internally, I cursed the situation, hoping the perpetrator would face consequences. The news about Jenny being shot added another layer of distress. "Jenny was shot too. I'm on my way to the hospital to gather information. Is there anything I can do for you?" "Thank you, Mike, but I don't think so," Tracy replied amid sniffles. "Just keep me updated on what's happening." "I will," I assured her before ending the call and heading to the hospital. The place was swarmed with law enforcement, reporters, and medical staff attending to the injured. After some inquiry, I learned that Jenny was still in surgery. I could wait in the waiting room, and someone would notify me once there was an update. Inevitably, I had to complete numerous forms regarding Jenny's information, as she was still covered under my work insurance. Knowing she had her own insurance, I assumed her treatment would be mostly covered. At this point, I found myself contemplating whether to stick around or just leave. I reached out to Sally, informing her of the situation. She agreed to postpone serving Jenny until she recovered from surgery. Additionally, I contacted Jenny's parents and sister to update them. Despite their attempts to blame me, I clarified that if I were responsible, I likely wouldn't be at the hospital. They joined me in the waiting room, eyeing me as if I were a piece of trash on the ground. I had already visited the cafeteria, quickly devouring a piece of chicken and mashed potatoes while sipping multiple cups of bitter coffee. Afterward, I spent several hours in the same spot, engrossed in watching the news. Despite my efforts to stay awake, I dozed off more than once in front of the television. At 5 a.m., an exhausted doctor approached me in the waiting room. "Mr. Gregory?" he inquired. I met his gaze with fatigued, bloodshot eyes. "Yes," I replied, rubbing my eyes to stay alert. Jenny's parents and sister approached us. "Your wife is currently in critical condition, but she appears to be stable. We'll have more information within the next 24 hours, he informed. We removed 3 bullets from her chest, and another bullet grazed her face, causing damage to her right eye. 1 lung was punctured, and a bullet struck her spinal column. However, we're optimistic about her survival. The next day or 2 are crucial." "Is she awake?" her father inquired. The doctor shook his head. "No," he replied. "She's still under anesthesia. Just so you're aware, there's a possibility she may never walk again and may not fully regain sight in her right eye without additional surgery. I'm sorry," he added before walking away. Jenny's father turned to me. "So, are you still planning to divorce her?" he asked. I pondered for a moment before responding. Despite a part of me considering forgiveness, the pain of her actions lingered. "Yes," I affirmed. They all stared at me in disbelief. "But I'll wait until she's in stable condition." "How can you be so heartless?" her mother questioned. "How could she be so heartless?" I retorted. "Where will she stay? What will she do?" Jenny's mother pressed. "If my assumption is correct, that won't be much of an issue," I hinted. "What do you mean?" her father inquired. Not wanting to reveal too much, I replied cautiously, "We'll see. I'm heading home, but I'll be back." Leaving them standing there, I returned home, took a shower, and collapsed into bed. The following day, news about the shooting had disseminated nationwide. Numerous men came forward, asserting that they, too, had fallen victim to extortion attempts by the law firm for crimes they had never committed. The narratives were remarkably similar, with each individual receiving threats to expose fabricated heinous acts unless they paid substantial sums of money. Consequently, many lives were irreparably damaged. State authorities intervened, apprehending several lawyers from the firm and compelling the company to halt its operations. A sizable class action lawsuit was initiated against the firm and its partners, seeking millions in damages beyond what the criminal courts mandated. 3 days post-shooting, I received information from the hospital that Jenny had regained consciousness and was asking for me. I notified Sally, who informed me that a couple of men, including the process server, would meet me there. Jenny's parents informed me that one of them had been taking shifts sitting with her since her surgery. In the hallway outside Jenny's room, I met the process server and another man introduced as Detective Fulcher. We entered Jenny's room, where she was seated in bed, with her mother in a chair nearby. Jenny gazed at us with questions in her eyes. "Jenny Gregory?" the process server inquired. She nodded, and he confirmed her identity before handing her a manila folder. "You've been served," he declared, exiting the room. Detective Fulcher positioned himself in front of her bed, looking down and shaking his head. "Are you aware that extortion and conspiracy to commit extortion are felonies in this state?" he asked. Jenny looked down, weakly nodding her head. "Yes," she replied, her voice cracking. "And you understand that in this state, the penalty for each act of extortion is up to 15 years in prison and a $10,000 fine?" he continued. Once again, Jenny nodded her head, and he handed her a printed copy of the email I had received. "Recognize this?" he inquired. She looked defeated. "It should. It was created and sent from your computer using your Logan credentials, along with approximately 75 others. We discovered them all in your sent items folder. I'm not a scientist, but my calculations indicate that 76 times 15 years equals around 1,140 years, and you're facing a hefty $760,000 fine. In summary, you're in trouble. I'll have to apprehend you, you know. The DA is advocating for a life sentence with all the charges against you, but if you cooperate, Maybe I can negotiate a deal. What do you think? Jenny nodded silently. Okay, she murmured. Very well, he responded. I'll give you a few minutes alone with your husband and family, but I'll return. Detective Fulcher glanced at me, placed his hand on my shoulder, and exited the room. I looked down at my soon-to-be ex-wife. Tears streamed down her face. How could you do this to me? I questioned. All I've done is love and respect you. I thought you loved me too. What happened? I'm sorry, she uttered through her tears. Her mother picked up the email and read it, her eyes widening in shock. My God, she exclaimed, looking at her daughter. You actually wrote this? To your own husband? Jenny cried even harder. How could you? I turned to her mother. How do you think Johnson and Associates became so successful? I rhetorically asked her. They did this to a bunch of guys seeking a quick buck. That's why that guy went and shot them all. And I have her on video admitting they did this regularly. No wonder you want to divorce her, she said, looking at me. I don't blame you one bit. That, along with her adultery, I stated. There's no way I want her back, ever. I looked back at Jenny. You never answered my question. She gazed at me, defeated. I got caught up in the excitement and the power, I guess, she explained. As for the letters, well, I was just following what the lawyers wanted. I hated doing it, and I wasn't the only one. All the paralegals did it too. Please believe me. I shook my head. I can't accept the excuse of I was only following orders. It just doesn't hold water, I expressed. The sarcastic remarks, the lack of respect, the cheating. It wasn't an obligation. It was your enjoyment. I witnessed the satisfaction on your face when you admitted to doing it regularly. The pleasure you took in belittling me while being involved with that person. Oh, by the way, he's no longer in the picture. Your actions were a serious mistake, one that nearly cost you your life and certainly cost you your marriage. I hope it was worth the consequences. Can you find it in yourself to forgive me? She inquired. I shook my head. No, I replied. Never. I'm just grateful we didn't have any children. And when you complete that financial statement, don't overlook your secret account, the one you hid money in from me. I wouldn't want perjury to be added to your list of offenses. She stared at me, wide-eyed. You're aware of that? She questioned. I nodded. Of course, I confirmed. Who do you think handled the year-end books and audit for your firm? Your problems are just the tip of the iceberg compared to what we discovered over the past year. Trust me, the federal authorities will have a field day with your senior partners. I glanced at Jenny one final time. Goodbye, Jenny, I uttered. I loved you once. With that, I exited as Detective Fulcher entered with 2 uniformed officers, handcuffing Jenny to the bed as her mother looked on in tears. Johnson and Associates faced a barrage of charges from state and federal agencies and a class-action lawsuit for defamation and other civil torts. This lawsuit involved over 700 men, some of whom had wrongly faced incarceration and labeled as sex offenders due to false charges from the firm. The court eventually mandated the firm and its senior partners to pay over $2.5 billion in fines, fees, and restitution. The majority of this amount went to attorneys and tax obligations. All attorneys associated with the firm were disbarred, their licenses permanently suspended. There was ongoing debate about reviewing divorces handled by the firm. Some argued for a comprehensive review, considering the scandal's circumstances, while others suggested focusing only on cases related to the men named in the class action. Ultimately, no reviews took place and no changes occurred. Surviving partners received life sentences for their actions. Senior partner Max Johnson took his own life before the trial's conclusion. Jenny, who turned state's evidence, accepted a plea deal. She received a 20-year prison sentence with parole eligibility in 10 years. Upon release, she faced significant physical and emotional challenges, living with her parents and relying on welfare. Despite her hardships, she started a blog warning about the dangers of infidelity. The impact of Jenny's betrayal deeply affected the narrator, leading to a period of social withdrawal and trust issues with women. After 3 years, the narrator met Carol, a former Marine and disbursing clerk, 2 years younger and recently widowed. Carol's previous husband had died suddenly of a heart attack. We went out several times before I felt at ease enough to discuss my past marriage with her. Carol attentively listened as I shared my experiences. After I finished, she nodded understandingly. "That sheds light on things," she remarked. "I know it must have been difficult for you to open up about it, but I appreciate your honesty. Not all women are like Jenny. I share your belief in the Marine Corps motto, Semper Fidelis. If you give me a chance, I'll prove it." And she did, on multiple occasions and in various ways. Even after all these years, she continues to do so. I eventually retired from the reserves as a master sergeant and began receiving my retirement benefits at 55. Carol and I have plans to travel across the country during our retirement, using the new RV we purchased with some of the money from the class action against the firm. Carol jokingly mentions that she intends to keep things exciting in our relationship. I trust her, and I'm content with that.